all three platforms, coming to you guys every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're actually changing it to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coming to you guys with the Off the Top weekly show. I'm with two of my executive partners here at LC Financial Group. And hey, if you don't know them, they're going to take full responsibility. B. Lou, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're doing, what type of impact you're looking to make to the world, and maybe some of your goals and targets for this new year coming up.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Ryan. My name is Brian Lewis. I'm one of the top East Coast executives here at LC Financial Group. I have just recently opened a office this past year in Independence, Ohio, for the address 5000 Rockside Road. Come check us out. Would love to have you. So I've been in insurance for about 3 years. It's been since 2017. So it's going on about 6 years, 7 years. Been with LC Financial Group for about the last three. When I came in, was real nervous, but really fell in love with the leadership, the guidance that I had. And it catapulted my career. Being with Ryan, the mentorship that he has provided me really catapulted me in the right direction. Fast forward when I first started till now, obviously I opened an office, got a new house, just had a little baby girl. Her name's Ren. Got a new car. And what I'm looking to do is just blow the roof off this thing. So this office has 8 cubicles, 6 actual offices, and we're almost full to the brim. Got about 23, 24 agents. So my main focus is just getting them all up and producing, writing at least at the very minimum our standard 10 a week. And then looking to duplicate that. So putting people in power positions to open other offices in maybe a different state or maybe even the same state, but a different city, and really cultivate the culture and help them build, their brand, their organization, and help them succeed at a higher level like you helped me. Really glad to be here with you guys, really glad to be partnered with you guys, and I do appreciate it. I'm going to pass it off to the other executive, our West Coast main man, Luke the Nuke. Go ahead with your introduction, bro.
Appreciate you, B. Lou. But yeah, my name's Luke Pisani out here on the West Coast. I've been in the insurance industry. Now I'm transitioning here over the phone. Building it here. Really looking to deliver the same experience I have. Giving me all about growth and being in here.
Awesome, brother. We couldn't hear a word you were saying.
Really?
You sounded like a robot, but you are a robot, so we can totally understand that. And we're definitely going to roll with it because, man, you just take massive amounts of action. And that's one thing I love about my guy, Luke the Nuke, in the West Coast. He's out of San Francisco, been in the insurance industry for the past 2, coming up on 3 years, and just blowing it up, takes massive action. And, he's doing some big things over there on the West Coast and California. So we're going to come to you guys every single Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Kind of just go off the top, something that I want to touch on is, the changes that have been made in your life, B. Lou, since you joined the insurance industry once again, because you were in the insurance industry before, and it was a little bit of spotty leadership. The direction you got wasn't clear-cut direction, positive orders and direction. So that kind of led you back into the 9-to-5 lifestyle, but then you got back into it. Partnered with me, obviously, here at LC Financial Group. And, man, some big changes have been made in your life, and I just love to see it. So you said you got a new car, you got a new house, you just recently had a baby daughter, and it's just so cool to see the massive changes that are happening in your life. And now, just like you said, Bilu, basically what you're doing is you're passing the torch off to other people now. You're transitioning your expertise, your knowledge, your intelligence, and you're transitioning that into other individuals that are within your group. You know, you said you have around 20 individuals in your group, and coming from where you came from, man, like it's just such a big change. So what's one of the things that's really helped you out, you know, go from where you were at to where you're currently at? What's one of the biggest things that has helped you out? What would you say off the top of your head?
I would say the biggest thing is the mentorship you provided, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of the executives in the company. Like, genuinely, like, for everybody who's watching, if you don't have a mentor, I would highly suggest you find one that you can pour all of your trust into. Like, I know you can watch YouTube videos and stuff like that of motivational speaking and stuff like that. They give you direction, but they don't really push you. Like, being with LC Financial Group, there's countless times where you literally tell me, dude, just do it. Like, just keep going. Don't stop. Like, put all the fears behind you. And, you know, before I came into insurance, before we even had that initial sit down at Shooters with you and Joe, dude, I lived in fear. I'm like, dude, I got $2,000. I don't even know how I'm going to pay I lived in fear. Like, my body and my mind thrived off of fear. And as soon as I got into the organization with you and you started really pushing me, and you basically broke it down for me, like, dude, you're always going to live in fear. If you live in fear, like, just stop. And I kept coming to you with these little bits, and you said, when are you finally just going to commit and quit doing what you're doing? And at that moment, I talked to my significant other. She's like, he's right. He's absolutely right. You complain about making changes, wanting to make changes, but yet you're not. So I took that one piece of advice you gave me, and I just let all of the fears, I just shedded them all away. I let them melt away. And I really took what you told me and all of the guidance and leadership you've told me. I've taken it, I've held it very close to me, and I ran with it. I remember the very first conversation, or one of the very first conversations, you said, I'm down in Indianapolis writing final expense. If you want to drive down here, I'll train you. I had less than $1,000 to my name. I just quit my job. Wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to pay rent next month. And I said, if he said commit, this is one of the steps to committing, is just driving down there, spending what little money I had, and the rest just played out to my benefit.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that. You know, obviously you're not just saying it because you're one of my executives. You're not just riding on the high horse. Like, it's truly what I deliver. And also I've seen it extend into your life as well, with you now being a leader, with you now being an executive. You push your people, you hold them accountable, and you make sure that they're executing at a high level. And that's one thing I love. I remember when we first had that initial talk. Now that you're speaking about it at Shooters, it was me, you, Joe, a few other individuals were there. And you're like, man, I want to get back into insurance, but I don't want to be micromanaged. I'm just like, absolutely. Okay, sure. That's perfectly fine. And it just stems back from those past previous experiences and situations that you had when you were controlled incorrectly. Like, you were controlled poorly, right? There's two levels of control. It's either control or no control, right? You either have control or you don't have control at all. So I remember that, and like, man, ever since then, I've just been pushing you to the highest level and the highest extreme, holding you accountable, and so on and so forth, micromanaging you. Because, man, if my man B. Lou is on the doctor's bed at a hospital, man, I'm going to be micromanaging him. I want to make sure that, man, I'm doing everything I can to keep him alive and to keep him striving. So that's one of the things that I really love about you, B. Lou. Like, you're really open to coachability and the guidance and the direction that I've brought to you. And I see it, like I said, extending into your life and into your partner's lives now, right? And that's how we got to operate. If you really want to be a true leader or a true executive or a true individual that has control, you have to have positive communication. You have to put through positive orders and directions. And most importantly, you have to hold your people accountable and make sure that they see anything through to full completion, and make sure that they're actually executing on those positive directions and orders that you're putting through. Because it's one thing to put policies, systems, to put through orders and directions, but it's a whole nother thing to actually hold people accountable and make sure that they're fully executing on what you are telling them to do or what you're suggesting them to do or what you're recommending them to do. You know, there's been countless times where I'm like, B-Lou, do this. You don't do it. So I'm like, B-Lou, do this. I review it in another, maybe a week later, a month later. I'm like, hey, did you get to do that? Have you been doing this yet? You know, whether it's social media posting, right? Something we're confronting this year, social media posting, whether it's, you know, better communication with your people, right? That's why we have our monthly calls every single month. You know, so it's awesome to see. We're going to get our man Luke the Nuke back on the stage here. There he is. There he is. He's back. He's loud and clear. Luke, how about you introduce yourself for the viewers one more time so they get to know who you are? So moving forward, you have their full attention and their full intention. So let them know who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Mic check. Can you guys hear me better?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Hey, my name's Luke Pisani. I've been with, Ryan Lodi since the start, day one, right? Been in the industry about 2 years, started door knocking, doing final expense, buying leads, the whole shebang. But, last year I've transitioned into Medicare, right? Doing over the phone. I built my book up to about 600 clients in 1 year. And I'm just trying to duplicate that and give others the opportunity to, create that financial freedom that I've been able to create. And, being in the industry, that's what makes it so special, right? It's recession proof and you build those residuals, right? No other industry can do that. So just trying to duplicate and show others how to do it is what I'm looking to accomplish, here in 2024.
I love it. I love it, man. It brings me back some memories of when you first joined us. You saw a podcast on Brad Lee's channel when, some of the IFG founders were on that podcast, and you reached out and they connected you with me. And man, like you literally came from working 2 jobs. You were already making 6 figures. You're like, man, I'm done. Like, I know I deserve more. I know I can accomplish more. I know I am worth more, right? We all know that we're worth more than what we're currently doing. But sometimes people, as B. Lou was saying, sometimes people get caught up in that fear. Sometimes people get caught up in the fear of like, oh, the what ifs or the failure or the fear of loss, the fear of rejection. But they know that they're worth more. But they don't move past their fears. They don't move past those uncertainties or those doubts. And then they get accustomed to that comfortability in life. They get accustomed to that little bubble that they've been in their entire life, and they can't break out of that bubble. And ultimately, that's what we're all doing as we want to lead people, we want to train people, we want to develop people. And it takes a whole nother type of individual to actually do that. So, man, it's awesome to see where you came from, man. Like, how does someone go from working 2 jobs, already making 6 figures, to starting something brand new? Like, what was going through your head when you did that, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, fear is an indication that we need to take that risk, right? When you have that fear, when you have that roadblock, that's just an indication that you need to move forward. You got to do it, right? Because if you don't, you never know. So for me personally, I was stuck, working 2 jobs. COVID happened, so I had to make a change, right? I was forced to get something different, right? Hours were cut, commissions were cut. Like I was like, man, what am I going to do, right? So, for me taking a risk, it was risky, but you got to take risk in life. Without risk, there's no reward. So you have to be able to use that fear as a motivator. And it's worked out, right? And we're just getting started.
We're just scraping the surface. We're just getting there.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yes, sir.
How would you say being through what you've been through in your life has helped you make that transition? Did it make it a little bit easier?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, pain is the biggest motivator, right? Like whatever you've been through in life, you got to use that as motivation. And, growing up, it's like, we're always taught to save. We're taught to, $50,000, $60,000 a year. That's good, right? Like, that's how I grew up, right? My dad, he still works 2 jobs to this day. So it's like, for me to make that transition, make that jump, start a business like how we've done, it takes a lot, right? You have those people in your life that are like, oh, you're crazy. You can't do it. Like, you're in insurance. Like, what are you doing? But it's like, man, those are the people that you have to stay away from. because negativity is contagious, right? Like, and they don't see the vision. They don't see, what you're capable of. And, anything that's worth great, you have to overcome those things. Right. So, I mean, definitely just use it as fuel.
Yep. And that's the biggest thing. Like I always say it all the time is that like taking risk is less risky than not taking risk. Whereas like the whole world is really risk adverse, right? We're taught into and programmed into this middle class way of thinking, the poverty way of thinking and operating. We're kind of like programmed into it, right? I was programmed into it. I'm sure you guys were programmed into it. Like just small thinking, save your money, turn the lights off, try to get the cheapest gas that you can get, right? Try to clip the coupons for groceries, put more air in your tires so you can save money on gas. Like it's all just programming that we're essentially programmed with from the moment we were born into the universe. And sometimes people can't snap out of it, right? And that's one thing I love about us three is that like, man, we are super hard on ourselves and we're also hard on everyone else that is around us in our surroundings, in our environment. Like we expect execution and we help other people execute. And it's a great question that you asked, Bilu, is like, man, being what you've been through, was it, easier to set yourself up in a new industry and a new career? Like, absolutely. Like I've seen the greatest people that we brought into our organization here at LC Financial Group. The greatest people that we've brought in are ones with not so good of a background. Like they've had troubles when they were a teenager, when they were kids. Maybe they had trouble with the law, like myself. Maybe they did all these bad things when they were younger, right? They had a lot of struggle when they were younger. Like those are the people that really can actually see something through the full completion, right? They have the grit, they have the perseverance, right? So when it comes to finding people, man, we want to look for those people that, man, they've been through the struggle, they've been through tough times, they've been through challenges and adversity. Those are people that are going to shine because they're already used to it, they're already accustomed to it. And nowadays, a lot of people make insurance seem to be this easy thing. Like, oh, it's so easy to make money doing insurance. It's easy to create income, create passive income, create residuals. It truly is. However, if like you're expecting all the entitlement, then it's not going to be. So, man, it's very, very important to like, man, almost like just be grateful and thankful for everything that you've been through, right? Most importantly.
Right. And I think with insurance too, like one of the things that we've all dealt with is adversity, right? So when you can overcome the adversity as a child, teenager, or young adult, like when you come into insurance and you come into building a business, you've already hit that adversity. So you know what it takes to move forward, right? I feel like that's a big piece of information, like that kind of what we're talking about, right? Like when you have that past, like you've been through the adversity, the challenges, the roadblocks in life. So it makes it all easier. It all stems from it, right? So as long as you have the discipline, the perseverance, like, dude, you can do anything in this business.
Mm.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because when I first started, like, when I first started in insurance, door knocking was the hardest thing for me. And then someone sat me down and they asked me, they go, haven't you had a hard life? And I kind of thought about it and I'm like, yeah, I have. And he goes, then what are you afraid to knock on a door for? You've already been through the hardest things you're probably going to have to go through in your life. Knocking on a door is nothing. And, after that point, it really stuck with me that there's nothing in this business that I wouldn't do. Even if someone told me to get off their property, they're going to call the cops, whatever the case, I'll knock on the door again. Like I am not afraid to chase success. And if I don't care what that means, if I got to run through a wall to get it, I'm gonna run through that wall as hard as I can and as fast as I can. Like I've had so much adversity in my life that I am not afraid to chase success in any form, fashion. And I think, like we've said, that's what cultivated me to be not only the insurance broker that I am, but also the leader, along with it.
Yep, because it's just normal to us now. We've been through so much. We've been through so much struggle, so many challenges, all the adversity that like we get hit with it again. It's just like, man, like ain't nothing taking me down. Nothing is putting me down. Nothing is stopping me to get to where I want to go, right? We're target focused. Like all we focus on is the target. We focus on that end goal. We focus on where we're going, right? And that's the important thing, because so many people lose sight of the target when they're moving towards that target. And that's why we're all huge believers on writing down your goals and targets every single day, knowing exactly where you're going, because man, you're going to get hit with those challenges, the adversity, the things, the roadblocks, the blockages that come up in business and personal life as well. You're going to get hit with it. It's inevitable. You might not know when you're going to get hit with it, but you're going to get hit with it, and you got to be able to, maybe get knocked down, but bounce right back up immediately. You got to be able to bounce right back up and just continue to fight through it. Like, you got to have that type of mentality and that type of viewpoint, especially if you want to be a business owner, right? If you want to be a business owner, you got to have that grit. You got to have that perseverance within you and that grit, right? It's like those steel oats that you eat for breakfast, and you eat them plain. You might not even cook them. Like, you just eat them, right? You got to have that grit inside you so you can just go through anything and confront anything, right? Many people are running away. Many people are neglecting things. Many people are avoiding things. Whereas like the highly successful, and us including, like, we just attack it and we confront it. We see it head on. We don't run away from it. We don't avoid it. We don't neglect it. We just confront it and attack it. So staying focused on the target it's one of the most important things as a business owner, I'd say, just staying focused on the target, because it's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to even let the negative energy of our surroundings or our environment kind of feed doubt into our mind, right? Like you were talking about earlier, Luke, like sometimes you have those people in your life, family, friends, work associates, maybe even just strangers that you meet that ask, hey, what are you doing? Like, they might try to feed negativity and feed doubt into you. And if we don't keep that target focused mindset, then that doubt and that could easily creep in, and it could start to lower our self-esteem. It could start to lower our confidence. Next thing we know, our everything is going downhill. Like, we get into this dwindling spiral instead of continually moving forward and continually attacking no matter what, because hey, it's going to pay off one way or another. Like you said earlier, Luke, like everything that we're doing, it's going to pay off. And it's going to pay off the way we want it to pay off, as long as we keep that mindset.
One of the biggest things I think that has helped me is not only, what we've been through, but the why. I think that's probably one of the biggest things, is the why. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for most people, they don't have a why big enough that's worth going through all of the stuff that we've been through. Like, I knew at a very young age that I like very expensive things. Not only do I like very expensive things, but I want to provide to the people that I love the most those expensive things. Like, I think everybody should have those, and everybody has the ability to have those. You just have to have a why big enough and a drive, a motor that's not going to quit. And for me, I think that's what it was for me, was the why. I knew what I wanted. I knew why I was doing what I was doing. I didn't know how to get there at first, but I knew why I was going through what I was going through. And that for most people, I think, is so the why you're doing what you're doing and going through what you're going through. For most people, is one, either very, very small, or two, it gets lost in the fog and they can't figure out, like, kind of like you said, writing your goals down. Like, I write my goals down every single day. Matter of fact, I have it right next to me, the 10X planner of what I'm writing down. And literally anytime, like, I just got a voicemail today of a client that wasn't so happy, or we had a misunderstanding. And immediately I looked at my whys and I said, okay, it's time to handle it. Like, it just pushes you to a whole nother level when you have a why big enough. You don't even think about the rejection or the negativity or the things that you're going through as adversity. You just know, once you get to the other side, your why is going to be accomplished. It's going to be achieved. And for me, I think that's what really has ultimately put me, besides you making enough sense to where I could come back, my why was big enough to get past the fears of coming back into insurance.
Yep. And that's really what's gonna have that fuel that we need. Like Luke, you were mentioning this earlier. Like, let the failure serve as fuel. Let the fear serve as fuel. Let the struggles that we've had in our past serve as fuel, right? And that's, what's ultimately the why is going to fuel us as well. Like, what are our purposes for doing what we're doing, right? You got to ask yourself these questions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Who am I doing what I'm doing for? And how is it going to benefit these people, whether it's myself, whether it's my family, my church, a charity, a foundation, right? When you have the why, you will figure out the how, right? So when you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, the how will always play out. You're always going to figure out the how. You don't always need to have the how lined up in order to get to where you want to go. You just got to have that why. You got to have that burning desire, those purposes, right? As Uncle G says, those obsessions. You got to have those obsessions that are fueling you and feeding the beast within you and feeding that spiritual being that you have within you and that power that you have within you. You got to have those purposes that are fueling you, right? And having that why, right? And like you said, Bilu, many people get caught up in the fog of when they're moving towards their why or their purposes. Like there's going to be times when you get foggy. There's going to be times when the road might not seem as clear as it was maybe a day ago, a week ago, or a month ago. It could get a little foggy, but you got to continue to back yourself up to your whys and your purposes, your goals, and your targets. And when the road is getting foggy, you just look at your goals and targets, just like you said, Bilu, and make sure that, like, man, you just keep moving forward because, man, like sometimes it's going to feel black as day and it feels like you're moving into a black hole. But, man, like as long as you have your whys in place, things are always going to turn out the way you want it to be. So, once you have the why, you'll always figure out the how. You first get the why in place. Why are you doing what you're doing? Who are you doing what you're doing for? Why is it beneficial? Who is it going to benefit? How are you going to impact them? Right? So it's like, man, like, and that comes to a point of like, man, like me personally, I'm not just doing this for myself. I'm doing this for so many other people, my group, mankind. I want to make an impact to mankind, a worldwide impact. Right. And that's what serves me. That's what fuels me. So, man, that's good stuff right there, Bilu.
Also, too, it's not how, it's who. Right. And what I mean by that is so many people are caught up in how they're going to do things. How am I going to make this? How am I going to do this? But ultimately, it's who we are. Right. Character over everything. Right. If your habits are aligned with what you're trying to accomplish, you're with the right team. Right. Sky's the limit. You can accomplish anything. So it's really who we ultimately are. And also, too, like not having a plan B. That's also like a huge thing, too, that I'm big on, because when you have a plan B, you're vulnerable to adversity.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of speak on what he said, when you have a plan B, you're half in, you're half out. Like you're only going to give half the effort because you know that you can just bounce out with your plan B, which if you give half the effort, you're going to get half the results. So like, and that was one thing that I had to make this. I'm like, do I do this part-time at first to make sure I can pay my bills? And then you said commit all the way. And I didn't even give my boss a 2-week notice. Like that day I was leaving, he walked in and I said, I'm done. I'm going to chase my dreams. He said, okay, sounds great. Have a good day. That was the last time I ever talked to him. Like not having a part B, it made me figure it out when even when I thought I couldn't figure it out. Like it just happens. And you really hold yourself to another standard. Like when I was in Indiana, I'm like, I don't know how I'm paying for the Airbnb. I don't know how I'm paying for rent. I don't know how I'm eating, but we're going to make it happen. And guess what? Just like that, it happened. Everything that you need to happen will happen as long as you commit fully, you execute, and you have the right intentions in the forefront of your brain.
Yep. Man, that plan B, the plan C, it really derails people. And it's like you can't do anything in life with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like I tried doing it right when I got into the insurance industry. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was traveling back to Ohio from North Carolina where I moved to. I was still trying to, dwindle and do a little bit of business of what I was doing back in my past, which was dealing drugs. I was still driving back and forth from North Carolina to Ohio, still trying to keep up my clientele in the drug business. and I was trying to do insurance as well. And I wasn't getting any results in insurance. I'm like, man, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm driving back to Ohio to continue to do these illegal activities. So I'm like, all right, I got rid of that. Next thing I know, I went all in with insurance. I learned everything I could about insurance. And then boom, my results went up. So it's like, it's as easy as that. Like, all you got to do is be 100% committed with what you're doing. 100% commitment, and things are always going to work out. Things are always going to work out. Luke the Nuke back on the stage, talking about man, that plan B. And that's a good point that you brought up there, Luke. You know, not having a plan B, not having a plan C. Because when many people have that plan B or that plan C, and they're like 50% committed to plan A, once plan A doesn't work, they're already slowly moving themselves toward that plan B or that plan C. Because you can't, it's like, man, you got to have no choice and no option. Like, if you're getting into insurance, or you're getting into real estate, you're getting into solar, you're getting into crypto, you're getting into the car business, like, you got to have no choice and no option that what you're getting into is going to work out. Put a stake in the ground. I'm going to make this happen. I'm 100% committed. This is going to work, right? You got to have those positive expectations and that positive, like, you know, aspiration and those postulates, right? You got to bring it into existence. If you want to be successful in any area of your life, you have to see it first, right? You have to see it, you have to believe it, and then you build emotion into it as well. Like, man, this is really going to make an impact to myself, to my family, to my church, my foundation. And now, like, you're even more all in, right? So you got to see it, you got to believe it, you got to envision it, you got to implant it in your mind. Like, what is it going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? How different is my life going to be, right? And then also, you know, never get satisfied, but also be grateful for everything that you have accomplished since you started whatever you started. Like, for me, 8 years ago, I'm like, dang, like, I've been through so much since this past 8 years of being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being in the insurance industry. And sometimes I have to look back and be like, man, I've gotten so far, because sometimes I get discouraged. You know, I'm a human being, I'm a spiritual being. I get discouraged as well. It might seem all good and all on the top of things, like from an outside viewpoint looking in, but man, I'm human, I'm spiritual. I get discouraged. Sometimes doubt gets into my head. Sometimes I get a little negative myself. And that's sometimes I have to do some reflection. I have to reflect on, like, man, look at how far I came. Look at what I've accomplished. But then again, don't get satisfied with your accomplishments. Just use it as a gratifying point. And that's something that really helps me out as I continue moving forward towards my whys, my purposes, my goals, my targets, and when I hit any type of roadblock, you know. So that's super important. And but most importantly, just be all in with what you're doing. Don't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's never going to work. It's never going to work.
Right. What's that saying? I used to always say this, like, never look at other people's grass, or only water your grass, right? Because if you're constantly looking at what's over to your left or to your right, like, man, you can go on Instagram right now and see Forex trading or crypto, and there's always something else, right? So when you get hit with that adversity, you're disengaged, right? You're not focused on what's in front of you. And that's key, right? Like you've been through so much, we've all been through so much, even in the industry alone, that it's like, man, if you're looking at something else, looking at something different, then, I mean, you're just not going to be able to move forward. So, man, it's super key.
I think that's one of the things I embrace when we bring new people in, is helping them create success as fast as possible. That way they don't look at any other option, that they know this is the only option. Because that was one of the biggest things for me. I mean, obviously, you know, we all want results, and delayed gratification is great. But when you really are struggling and you don't have those results, at least some results at the beginning, that's when the discouragement, that's when the, that looks a lot better. Oh, that looks a lot better. You know, all of these different options start looking a lot better than what you're currently doing. When you really hunker down and focus on what you're doing, everything will work out. It will. And when you're talking about the gratification of where you're at, anytime I start to get upset with myself. Like, man, I should be farther along. Like I should be, you know, like for those of you that don't know, yeah, I was in a lot of stuff, you know, growing up as well, that you know have cultivated me to be the person I am, and all of the money that I made, I could have poured that into a business and had a business years ago. So instead of beating myself up, I look at where I've come from and where I'm at now, and it just opens my eyes to the reality that life is what you make it. We can all have great things as long as we're willing to put in the time, put in the effort, and really get out of that bubble of fear.
Yep. The grass is always greener on the other side. But you got your own grass that you have to cultivate. You got your own grass that you have to mow, that you have to make greener. But that, you can always look at, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, see all this shiny stuff, these shiny objects. Next thing you know, like you're totally distracted. You lose your focus. You lose that momentum. You lose the clarity of what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing and where you're going. That next thing you know, like, man, results are just completely down. And like I spoke about earlier, in that dwindling spiral of like, man, like, oh man, my momentum was great. My motivation was great. Then you get hit with a challenge, you get hit with a roadblock, then it goes down a little bit. Instead of picking yourself back up, you look at Instagram, you're like, oh man, like, I don't know if this is working out anymore. And then you start to like look at all these other options. You have plan B, you have plan C. Like, as you just got to put the stake in the ground and just be 100% committed with what you're doing. And man, it's always going to pay off. Just always have that viewpoint that things are going to pay off. Most importantly,
100% commitment at its finest. That's it. It's the name of the game.
Yep. Commitment, staying 100% committed, staying positive, using fear as fuel, right? As you said earlier, Luke, fear is the indicator. It's an indication of what you should do, right? If you fear skydiving, hey, maybe that's what you should do, like you did earlier last year, Luke. First time skydiving, such a crazy time. We still got to get B. Lou to skydive with us, doing some crazy things like that. But man, I hope everyone that viewed this great Thursday had found some value, maybe picked up a quick little nugget. And most importantly, this information and this data that we're sharing, make sure that you execute on it. Share this with other people. If you found some value, give us a thumbs up. We're going to be coming to you guys every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time with the Off the Top weekly show. I'm here with my guy on my right,
Brian Lewis.
And then my man below,
Luke Pisani.
Let's go. You guys have a great rest of your night. Anything you'd like to leave off with the viewers, folks?
Yeah, just follow your heart, follow your dreams. Like never give up. Because what I do know is everybody's so willing to work and putting time for and help build someone else's dreams, and they tend to lose sight of their own. I was one of those people. Like, when you have a dream, hold on to it very dear. Life is short. Life is very short. And the people that we have in it and the moments we have, we need to cherish, and we really need to take advantage of it. So whatever dreams you have, whatever aspirations you have, give it 100%. Go all in, quit your job, sell your house, whatever you got to do to make it work. I promise it'll work out. And I promise in the long run, you'll be a lot happier.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose over pleasure, always creating the best version of yourself, giving that person to the world, right? Whether it's, your family, your friends, your business, your church, whatever it may be, just always focus on becoming the best version of yourself and just giving that person to the world.
That's right. Love it, guys. We'll see everyone next Thursday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for tuning in. Till next time.
All right, you guys.